today's episode, I'm going to be talking about putting yourself in the way of success. So it's going to be an interesting one. What do I mean by this? Well, let's face it. Success doesn't just tend to happen. It involves you putting yourself out there in some way. You need to give yourself the opportunity for it to happen. So what I'm talking about here is that we've all had the experience, haven't we, of when we have been trying different jobs or careers or work experiences, etc., that some things have worked out and other things haven't. Okay. And in the first instance, when you're putting yourself out there, there's a bit of an equal balance. Sometimes, you win things, sometimes you don't win things. But the fact of the matter is that if you're not in the game, then you're not going to win. Okay. So with this idea of that you've got to be in it to win it, that can not only mean the work experiences that you're trying out, but also the investments that you're also perhaps trying out, maybe a business venture that you're putting together and trying out. And also I'm talking about family and life situations and circumstances that you're putting yourself into, like, starting a new relationship or, having a child, obviously. There are all sorts of situations that you've got to be completely committed to and invested in, and allowing yourself to be putting yourself in the way, in front of things, in order for success to be able to happen as a result of you putting yourself into whatever situation we're talking about here. So the concept I'm sharing with you today is to make sure that you seek opportunities, you seek the right people, you lean into learning a new skill. And, essentially, when you're putting yourself out there and you want to make a success of your life, whatever that means to you, that you don't give yourself any excuses not to. So you don't sit on life's sidelines and wait for it to happen to you, because let's face it, that's just never going to happen. You have to be putting yourself out there in order to win the game. Now, typically, if you are choosing to actually become financially free, to make a financial success of your life, then it usually takes somebody who's actually made the decision to do that around about 2 to 3 years of sacrifice and hard work to build a solid financial foundation. Okay, just to get the groundwork in place and get your finances in order and get them working for you, rather than being at the mercy of money going out, money coming in, but you not having any control over it. And then, typically speaking, it can take between 7 to 10 years to truly get the ball rolling and start to build financial freedom for yourself. This all takes delayed gratification, meaning that you put off buying things or doing things that might cost a lot of money, for the fact that you're going to perhaps be putting that money to better use elsewhere whilst you're developing this lifestyle for yourself. That is a level of self-sacrifice, of course, in some respects. You have to be consistent and you have to be committed to the cause in terms of actually making those changes in your life. You have to start to take risks, calculated risks, careful, considered risks, but it's still going to involve taking those risks in the first place. You're going to need to listen into your intuition and do what feels right or good for you to do. This is how most people get started on their wealth building journey. And once the ball has got rolling, once they feel like they've got the plane getting off the ground after running along the runway for quite some time, because it can feel like that when you're putting this sort of lifestyle together. After this, and when you have committed yourself to doing those actions, learning what feels good and not so good, and concentrating on the things which are working really well, it starts to become exponential. And the only reason that it does that is because you have put yourself in the way of that success. You have made those changes. You have done the actions and activities that are allowing your life to start to take off in that respect. It is rarely a case, in fact, almost categorically speaking, I would say it's literally never a case of overnight success, as we know all too well. If you win the lottery, that's not the same thing. Okay. And invariably, most lottery winners actually end up losing most of their winnings within a couple of years, unfortunately, because they don't know how to handle that level of success or that level of money coming in one go. So you've got to make sure that if this is what you really want, that you are willing to go through that period of growth and delayed gratification and kind of commitment to the cause. The question is it worth it? Is it worth all that effort and sacrifice? And I can categorically say, hell yes. I can absolutely say without a shadow of a doubt that it has made the most monumental difference to my life, the life of my family, and the lives of those I'm working with now to help to get to that stage. I cannot tell you the absolute joy it brings me when I see somebody get to the point in their life where they're like, oh my goodness, this is actually happening now. And it can happen invariably much more straightforwardly and much quicker, actually, with support from someone who's been there and done that before, because it sorts out a lot of the wheat from the chaff and mistakes that you may make along the way if you were doing it on your own. Nothing brings me greater happiness than to see somebody really get it and make that big leap and that difference in their lives. So I'm going to share with you a few key points that it's going to take for you to be able to get to this stage of putting yourself in the way of success. The number one thing that you need to do is to believe in yourself. You need to absolutely know that financial freedom, financial success, or success in life is absolutely possible for you. And not listen to the naysayers and just believe in yourself that it is possible, because trust me when I say, if I can do it, if the people that I work with can do it, then you can too. Know your own worth and don't settle for less. If you feel you're being undervalued in the job or career that you're in at the moment, you must make sure that you seek and search out the opportunities that are going to bring you that sense of worth and pay you what you deserve. Okay? Don't settle for less. There's better and more out there for you. Make sure that you're adaptable and you're ready to take new opportunities. Go out and look for those opportunities. Get in your mind what it is that you would love to be doing and the contacts that you'd love to be making, and go and seek those opportunities. Everything is out there. There's that whole thing of that, we're never more than 6 degrees of separation from anyone or anything, any opportunity in our lives. So just start putting yourself out there. Make sure that you embrace new challenges and you set big goals for yourself, and never take your eye off that ball of what is most important. I've spoken before in a previous episode about making sure that you have that underlying why this is most important to you, and have that as your key anchor before setting the goal, the financial goal perhaps, that you want to achieve and start to work towards. It's essential also to make sure that you keep learning and developing your own skill set, growing into the person that you need to become in order to have that financial success and that financial opportunity. Have a healthy attitude towards risk. You are never or highly unlikely to be able to reach the point that you would perhaps love to reach in life without taking risks. My goodness me, I should know. You're going to have to be putting yourself out there. Risks can mean, taking the risk of looking for a new job or career when you're not happy with your current one, or starting to learn to invest in different places and starting to, take those small steps and those small financial risks, so that when you've grown into that, you can then start taking bigger, more opportunistic risks along the line. And it's very important to have a healthy attitude towards risk and know and understand how to mitigate risk as you go along. Ensure that you pursue or develop your passions, because your passion in life is what's going to give you that sense of fulfillment and make you feel successful along the way, because it's going to be very fulfilling as you seek out and follow your passions as you go along. Another really important point is to be honest with yourself. Look yourself in the mirror and see where your personal strengths lie, but equally also where your weaknesses lie, where your opportunities are, but also where your threats are. This is called a SWOT analysis. You can take a piece of paper and you can divide it into 4 and put those headings, a SWOT analysis on your own self, on your own life, of your strengths, your weaknesses, your opportunities, and your threats. It's a very interesting exercise to actually do on yourself. Make sure that you're surrounding yourself with positivity, because as you start to nurture these ideas and you start to grow into the idea that this is all possible for you, you're going to want to keep that dream alive and only allow it to grow. So if anyone's giving you a bit of negativity or a bit of naysaying or a bit of opinion about what you're trying to achieve, just either keep it to yourself, choose to ignore it. It's their own limitations, nothing to do with you. And you keep fulfilling it and surrounding yourself with people who are going to encourage you, who are going to support you, who are going to, enable and be honest with you also about perhaps some of the blind spots that you may have, but in essence, who are remaining positive and helping you to continue the journey along the way. Really, really priority is to make sure that your own health is number one, both physical and mental health. This will keep you strong throughout the journey and ensure that the opportunities you're putting yourself in front of are going to fulfill themselves, and you're going to enjoy the journey and not going to be affected by stuff that may happen as it comes along. Keeping yourself in that positive frame of mind, but also keeping your energy levels up by keeping yourself nice and fit and strong and healthy as you possibly can. Okay, so those are my key points to helping you with this level of success, putting yourself in the way of success. So how have we done this? Well, I can tell you categorically that if we hadn't bought our very first flat, which was in London, okay, I was 20, my husband was 21, we were boyfriend and girlfriend then, and this was in 1996. If we hadn't bought that very first flat and committed to that first flat, we would not be in the position we're in today. We took that opportunity. I took a student loan. We'd saved up the rest of the money. We bought that first flat together. And it was that very first flat that enabled us, after 5 years, doubled in value, to sell it, to buy the house, which then also went up, doubled in value in about 5 or 6 years' time. We have basically built everything off the back of that initial decision. Okay. We would absolutely not be in the position that we're in now without having bought that very first flat all that time back. Also, if we hadn't tried all the different business ventures and trading adventures that we've been on, we wouldn't have known what was best for us. We wouldn't have learned all the lessons that we did about what worked and what didn't work. And I wouldn't have found my passion for mentoring, inspiring and coaching people and being able to share that with you guys now, if I hadn't actually, started putting myself out there and putting myself in the way of success. Essentially, the key message here is that we weren't afraid to fail. So that's absolutely key. Don't be afraid to fail. We have been taught through our education system that failure is wrong or mistakes are bad. And it is just totally untrue. Mistakes actually show that you're in the game. They show that you are willing to risk, to put yourself out there, and they teach you every single time. So make sure that you're taking the lessons. If there is no such thing as failure, just feedback, right? So take that attitude that what you're trying, if it comes back and it's not working, it's just feedback. You need to change things up. You need to switch things up. You need to follow your heart more. Okay, so that's really important. And of course, the earlier you can get started in life, if it's possible, the better. Having said that, my parents were late 50s, early 60s before they started actually investing in property, and they still made it work. So it doesn't, of course, it's easier when you're earlier in life and you're at the beginning of your travels, your life travels, if you like, because you've got time on your side. But again, if you're willing to take the opportunity, you're willing to put yourself out there, like my parents were all those years back, in their perhaps later years, certainly later than a lot of people that I know, and they still made a success of it, then really we have no excuse, right? So it's actually really important, if you possibly can, if you do have children, to teach them these principles as soon as you can. And of course, as long as they listen as well. That's also going to be key. So it can be easy to potentially sabotage yourself along the way if you're not careful. So if you are on this journey and you want to put yourself in the way of success, then let's say that you've started working with your finances, you started managing them really well. That if you're actually setting some money aside to work towards financial freedom, then don't go and sabotage yourself by saying to yourself one day, oh, actually, I've got quite a nice pot there. I'm going to go out and buy a nice motor or go on a really great holiday, foreign holiday somewhere. Essentially, if you're saving that money for financial freedom, then that's all it gets spent on, invested with. Okay, you should never be doing anything other than using that money for that purpose. Okay, so that's really, really important to remember. That's the sacrifice. I remember that we had an opportunity at one point to buy a really nice BMW 540 injection, and it was in Morello cherry red with a creamy interior, and both Dennis and I absolutely loved it, and we had the money to do it, and we were very tempted. Did we do it? No, we didn't. We bought another flat instead, and we used that money as a deposit. And over the course of time, that flat has doubled in value, probably more so. Actually, I'm just thinking about it now, just about, doubled or thereabouts. And we've had decent cash flow from it all this time. So in fact, the cash flow from that property could pay for, monthly payments on a decent car instead. So we bought the asset and now it's paying for those types of things instead. So that was the sacrifice that we made at the time to buy. That was the second flat that we ever bought. Okay. So, think about what you've had to sacrifice or what you are sacrificing to improve your financial situation. How are you putting yourself in the way of success? Really think about this stuff. Really think about whether it's possible or not for yourself. And I'm telling you right now that it is. So the last few little tidbits of advice are to commit yourself to your vision. Have that vision of success and work towards it. Don't define your self-worth by your work. Some ideas will work, some won't. You just got to dust yourself off and go again. And remember, if you're not in it, you can't win it. Okay? Bring in trusted parties, those that you know can help you along the way. Don't try and do it all yourself. No one is an island. We've had some amazing mentors along the way. Those who have been there, our cheerleaders, our supporters, those can show us the ideas, what's possible, how to do things, how to offset the risk, etc., etc. No person is an island. So make sure you bring in those people that can help you along the way. And essentially, if something's not working, know when to call it quits. Cut your losses and start again with something else, but only if you've got to that point where you absolutely know that it is dead in the water. So on that note, If you've enjoyed what you've heard today and you're enjoying the other episodes, I'd absolutely love it if you would share it with somebody else that you know would benefit. Until the next time, I wish you every success. Take care. Bye for now.